fire blew all night. Thank you everyone for coming. We don't have members, so we will now call the October 2019 District 4 Advisory Board meeting to order. Could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry for the slightly late start. We were waiting to see if we got a quorum. If you don't know, there has to be at least 6 members here in order for us to vote on different issues. Otherwise, we'd all still had a grand time talking to each other, but we wouldn't have been able to vote on anything. So now we've got a quorum. We'll get started. Okay. So, can I get a motion and a second for the approval of tonight's agenda? Motion by Don, a second by Stephanie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And can I get a motion and a second for the approval of the August 5th, 2019 minutes?
So motion.
Motion from Mike.
I'll second.
Second over here. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Super. Okay, staff reports. Let's see, I'm sorry, before we get there, is everyone who's making presentations, every guest signed in tonight? Anyone that's come in, we always ask that you sign in. And we have staff reports from fire and police departments. So whoever's first, fires first, just state your name and your station number when you come on up to the podium here. We're using the podium tonight, right?
Use podium, okay.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll make it official that way.
I have the camera on you.
Good evening, I'm Captain Williams, Wichita Fire Department, Station 12, right next door on C shift. Let's see your September fire reports for District 4. We had 15 fire calls, 80 service alarms, 461 medical alarms, excuse me, for a total of 556 incidents. And the fire investigation reports, $100 loss at Wichita South High, 2 separate trash fires were set inside school, trip class is going. We also had girls set fire to a trash can at Truesdale Junior High. Right next across the road here at Bethel Life, they lost an owl building, $160,000 worth of damage. Worker ignited gasoline while smoking out in the shop. And at 407 North Young, $30,000 worth of loss on a fully involved detached garage fire that, under investigation, not suspicious that they can tell. A couple other things going on in the city. Station 17 out west, we have a new brush truck, so we now have a truck specifically designed for grass fires. It's our first one, so we're going to see how it goes. And I know the administration's plan is on a lot of these outlying stations where we do respond out to undeveloped areas. We're going to see how we like this one and see if we can get some more brush trucks around the city. This is Fire Prevention Week this week, which I'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. And really for just safety tips, once again, we're getting into the winter months. Smoke detectors, as always. And one I always point out is if you have a wood-burning fireplace, cleaning your chimneys. We have multiple alarms every year for chimneys on fire, burn wood. All that soot builds up, and people just don't think to get them clean because they don't think about the inside of the chimney. Let's see, Fire Prevention Week again today. They were doing senior living places that went and visit senior living centers. Tomorrow is the zoo for 5th grade classes around the city. Are going out for the Sedgwick County Zoo, some events out there. Wednesday, the North YMCA, again for kids of all ages. They're having some events. Thursday, they're taking the fire prevention units are going to the schools on Thursday, different design schools. But the big ones are October 11th, which is Friday. If you know someone that doesn't have smoke alarms, once again, contact the city. They're giving away free smoke alarms, and we're going to go install them on those who ask for them on Friday. And then Saturday is visit your local fire station. So come by and visit if you would like to see the inside of the fire station. And that's all I have. You guys have any questions about anything?
Questions from the board? How does the brush fire truck differ?
Bigger bigger,
second infomercial, go.
bigger tires,
Bigger
sets
tires.
up a lot higher. The guys can actually have a safety cage they can ride in. Right now on our squads that we use, which are really heavy and not designed, they get stuck a lot if we go into fields that aren't just rock solid. To pump and roll, we have to take the hose off the back and we bring it in the back window and stick it out the front window. We just kind of have to jerry it, you know, to do the best we can. So this is the first truck we've had specifically designed to drive in. The ditch would be a good one, the big ditch. You know, places where you got a lot of concrete thrown around and stuff you can get stuff on. It's really neat. I look forward to trying it.
You said it's gonna be out west, which station?
Station 17 at Maple Ridge.
Is that Maple and Ridge?
Yeah.
Will we be able to see
Or-
it this Saturday? You guys already got it, or?
It's at their station.
Okay.
So right now, they're the first ones, and Chief Snow said Station 12 next door. We're in one of the top 3 or 4 there. This is our pilot program, to see how this works out. And the idea is just to add a brush truck. We'll still have our squads for medicals, but they're gonna change those to more pickup, suburban type trucks, where they don't carry water. The engines carry water, and the brush trucks carry water.
Sounds very efficient.
So it's a neat looking beast.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be able to see it Saturday if we go there.
If you go to that station, it'll be
Alright,
there.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
Any questions from the public?
Oh, sorry.
Fire, I'm sorry. I get geeked out talking about machines.
I've got one question.
Okay.
With the smoke detectors,
Mhm.
will you install those as well?
Yeah, that's what Friday's the day we're installing them. So the city number, I'm sorry if I didn't put it up there, to call is 268-4441. Again, for anybody who's in need of smoke detectors, I'm sure they have a limited supply, we always do, but first come, first serve, and we'll go out there and install them in the proper places on Friday.
Now, what about, say elderly or handicapped or whatever? Would you come out and change batteries in one if they already have?
We do all the time, you know,
Do all
for
the time.
those that are unable to do it themselves, yeah. And a lot of people, if they go buy a smoke detector, if we don't have them, if they just contact downtown, they'll set it up at the appropriate station and we'll go install them. Yeah, we have no problem with any of that.
Very good.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
thank you. Okay, next we'll hear from our friends at the police department.
Good evening, Officer Kemp, Patrol South, Beat Policing, on 28 Beat. Give you an idea of some of the stats for Patrol South over the last month. Between August and September, basically all categories of crime, with the exception of aggravated assaults and batteries, were all down significantly. There was a slight increase in the ag assaults and things like that, which a lot of them were DV related, those aspects. As far as for the district advisory area, larceny and autos is still the biggest crime reported within the district. There was 106 in September, slightly down from 113 the previous month. One of the significant increases, however, were the auto thefts. It was up to 44 from 37 between September and August. And so one of the things we want to key in as we move into the colder months and it gets cooler in the mornings and folks want to start the cars and let them warm up and things. You know, it's not a city ordinance to leave it running any longer, but we just suggest get some type of safety device, whether it's a remote start, or tough it out, sit in your vehicle while before you drive off, because we don't want somebody just jumping in and taking off your vehicle.
I can start mine from my phone.
There you go.
The little key I just got, it gives you on the app, start from the phone, so I immediately thought of you guys telling us about that. Start the car on it, but as long as it's locked, we're good, right? Alright.
So, anyone have any questions
Any
for
questions from the
Patrol
board,
South?
from Patrol South, or questions from the public?
I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Officer.
Patrol West.
All right, I'm Officer Winder from Patrol West. I do 14 beats specifically. He went over all the stats, so I'm not gonna bore you with any of those. Just to touch base briefly, like he mentioned, on auto thefts. Just an example, like from my beat, half of the cars on my beat all had the keys with them when they were stolen out of the vehicles that were stolen on 14 beat. And I'm sure it's fairly similar to the rest of them. And like he mentioned, It's not against city ordinance. It is still against state law to leave the vehicle running unless it is shut off by like a remote start ability where if you touch the brake or try and put it in gear, it kills the ignition, or if you have some type of transmission lock on the vehicle, that would still make it against state law. So a trooper or sheriff's deputy or somebody like that could write a citation for that on there. The only significant activity, other than the stats that he went over, is we had the robberies that were from Dollar General, Dollar Tree, those that were going on that were armed robberies. One of our investigative divisions did capture that guy on Saturday, I believe. So he's in custody, so hopefully that'll put a stop to those that were occurring in our area. Anybody have any questions for West South?
Questions from the board? Public? Great.
All right,
Thank you,
super,
officer.
thanks.
Okay. Now our favorite is up. Come on down, Robin, you're the next contestant.
I'm a staff report too, as the library, not just the police and fire. I'm Robin Belt, branch manager here at Alfred. Our circulation count for September was 10,527 items, and our gate count for the same month was 6,597 visits. The Big Read Wichita kicked off last month, and programming events continue through the month of October. This year's title is Lab Girl by Ruth Jarin, in which the author shares her struggle with bipolar disorder and how it affected her life and work.
this month, Delano is hosting 2 Halloween events. On Friday the 25th, Delano United is having Barks and Booze for the second time. It's going to be at Aeroplanes Brewery, and it's an opportunity for people who have pets, specifically dogs, but any pets really, if you want to dress them up and bring them out and have a little Halloween fun with your pet. And then on Saturday the 26th, we are having our Safe Treat event again this year. It's going to be all along Douglas from basically McLean all the way down to Vine. We're going to have a trunk or treat at the very west end by Fusion Restaurant. A little bit closer to railroad tracks, we're going to have a little food truck rally kind of thing set up. And then last year we had about 30 businesses participate. I printed off 50 flyers to hand out this year to see if businesses were interested. They could put the flyers up in their windows. I've handed all those out, and I'm getting more flyers made. So we're gonna have probably double the number of businesses participating this year than we did last year. And the Safe Treat's gonna be from 5 to 7 on Saturday. We moved it back one day because there were people that gave us feedback as far as doing it on Friday at 5 o'clock, people getting off work. By the time you get home, get your kid dressed, get your kid out there, it's half over. So we figured push it back a day and give everybody a little bit easier time to get their kids out there. And the Barks and Booze event set a little bit later in the evening, 6:30 or 6 to 9, something like that. I'd have to look at the event to see which one it is. But that's a little easier for people to get to after work, so we left that one on Friday.
Very good.
What's the date of the Safe Treats again?
The 26th, Saturday, right before Halloween.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I guess I was remiss, I did not see Commissioner Arnold's anything earlier, so we'll take this time to recognize Commissioner Arnold here tonight, and I guess he has something.
Thank you guys very much. It's good to be back. It's been a long time since I've been at a district advisory board meeting. In fact, the only person that was here last time that I was here is gone. So, been here a long time. Thank you for your service. I know it's actually, you're coming up towards your limit, right? Your 2 terms, almost termed out. So, but we're gonna find you something. But anyway, thank you very much for allowing me to come, Councilmember Blubaugh. A lot of good stuff's happening in South Wichita, South Sedgwick County. One of the things that we'll be having that LaShonda will be bringing in just a few minutes is the county strategic plan. We're focused on trying to reach out to the community as much as possible and have the county have a better reputation and also more involved to make sure that people understand what we do. A lot of people don't have the knowledge of everything that the county government does. And I feel like, and I think Councilmember Blubaugh can agree or disagree with this publicly, but things are really, really good right now between the city of Wichita and Sedgwick County. As best as I've ever seen in my lifetime. That's because we have leaders that have decided to put the community first instead of personality or our own little tents that everybody has. One of the things I wanted to bring, I brought by, I'm sure everyone remembers, and everybody in South Wichita that lived here in 1990 remembers the Nancy Shoemaker case. Well, next Wednesday, a week from this Wednesday, they're going to have a hearing that Doyle Lane, one of her 2 kidnappers and murderers, is up for parole. And one of the ways we're trying to keep him behind bars and keep our community safe, particularly us in South Wichita, because Mr. Lane's parents still live in the area. They live right over by Stanley Elementary. We want to make sure that he stays in state custody. So I brought the petition to be signed. And I'm going to leave it on this back table, and I'll ask Dalton Glasscock to grab it when he leaves if I'm not here, so that everybody has an opportunity to sign the petition to keep Mr. Lane in state custody and truly keep South Wichita safe, because what they did to that little girl was heinous and unforgivable, in my opinion. So, with that, on a more upbeat note, we're going to get ready to do the county strategic plan. So, anyway, any questions for me on that? Questions? Well, it's great seeing y'all. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks. And I'll leave this. Yeah, and I'll leave this on the back table so everyone has the opportunity to sign.
Does anyone else that didn't request to speak on the public agenda of the meeting, you may speak at this time? Okay. On to business. The Sedgwick
that will guide their work and decisions as they move forward over the next 3 years. The goal of this plan was not only to identify what those strategic goals and tactics will be, but it was also to provide an opportunity for the county commissioners, employees, stakeholders to have an input in how they were going to move forward over the next 3 years. So we have had stakeholder interviews with each of the Board of County Commissioners. They have brought together 5 work teams of leaders from all of the departments within the organization to build the strategic plan, as well as they have conducted focus groups within the organization with frontline staff to provide them the opportunity to have input into the final document. What you have before you today is a high-level draft of what is the making of the final strategic plan document that we plan to take to the Board of County Commissioners in November for adoption. This is high level in the sense that it does not include all of the strategies or objectives that they have under each goal, nor does it include the performance measures. This is an opportunity now for us to hear from the community stakeholders to provide input into what they have identified for goals in each of the work teams, so that we can take that information back to the executive committee for them to review before final documents are delivered to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. So I do want to take the time to go through briefly what they have drafted out from the high-level perspective. They have reworked both the mission and vision statement. The mission is about cultivating a healthy, safe, and welcoming community through exceptional public service, effective partnerships with dedicated employees. Their aspirational statement for their vision is to be a local government leader in building public trust, implementing innovative solutions, and supporting opportunities for success for all. And the values that they want to display in all of the work that they do when serving the community include trust, integrity, collaboration, compassion, and innovation. We've tried to frame the strategic plan in the essence of all of the departments that make up each of the work teams that you will see within the plan. Looking at general government was designed to really talk about those goals that will have an impact across the entire organization and is not necessarily specific to one work team, but those goals that should be displayed and worked on from every opportunity within the organizational structure. The goals that they've identified in general government include alternative service delivery and looking at ways to enhance that process and thinking about innovative solutions, thinking about collaborations, and thinking about opportunity. Diversity is a big conversation for Sedgwick County, and that you will see as a synergy that goes across many of the departments and work teams that I will share with you on today. Talent, that is a conversation about both retention and attraction. The elected and appointed offices, that conversation is about making sure that the partnership with Sedgwick County and elected and appointed offices continues to grow and continues to find opportunities to build and enhance the work that we do in the community. Sustainability, economic development, and employee safety are all goals that they believe will be items that each of the departments and work teams will look at throughout the next 3 years. The next organizational work team that we've brought together is public safety. Again, they were looking at consolidation, and that high-level conversation that they have been talking about has been steered around fire, but they will also look at other opportunities where it makes sense. They have been privileged to have MABCD where it's been done before in their camp, and so they have a model that they can look at for success in thinking about how to do that work locally here in our community. Legislative action. This conversation is really about being proactive and making sure that they can get in front of issues that will go before the legislative body prior to things going into effect so that they can ensure that their voices are heard in the process. Recruitment is a big conversation in making sure that their workforce looks like the community that they serve. They also have goals around retention, mental health, and substance disorder. I'm sure you've heard a lot of conversations lately about the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Coalition that they've recently formed and the work that they're doing around dealing with the crisis we're facing in our community. Community justice reform, communication, and first responder care are also goals that public safety will be really being intentional and focusing on over the next 3 years. When we transition down to Public Works, they are really looking at the capital projects that have been identified throughout Sedgwick County that will have an impact to our multimodal transportation modes. They're looking at renewable energy, housing and zoning regulations and practices, really promoting walkable communities and working with other partners to identify how do we work these things into new developments and how we do work moving forward. Being a great partner in the regional water supply conversation and really helping to move those conversations forward, as well as addressing flooding throughout Sedgwick County. Human Services is about access. One of their bigger goals is making sure everyone has access to services in a variety of ways. Communication, partnerships, innovation, and professional pride are the other goals that they will be focusing on over the next 3 years. Looking at cultural and recreation, that one is a little different because these entities do not work for Sedgwick County, so these are not Sedgwick County employees, but they are partners. And what was really critical for them over the next 3 years is continuing to have these partnerships and identifying new ways to collaborate, as well as making sure that they're promoting universally all of the activities that are that are happening within our community to ensure that everyone has access. If we continue to move along, we also have human resources. Their main focus is around talent. That's going to be attraction, retention, and looking at benefits and looking at that from a different perspective and making sure that they have well-rounded packages that they can attract the talent that we need in our community, as well as retain them within the organization. Communication is about building trust, making sure that Sedgwick County has a positive impact and that the public perceives them in a great light, as well as enhancing the internal communication process to ensure everyone is on one accord and one page. The finance department is really looking at being a great steward around protecting finances and the use of finances, as well as the review of the mill levy rate and making sure that we are having authentic conversations around the cap that has been imposed and what that does to the services that we provide, and providing the Board of County Commissioners and others with more information in regards to how that decision impacts service levels, as well as looking at the priorities and aligning the budget decisions with the new strategic plan as it is adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, and then looking for opportunities for external funding that would allow them to do the work that's necessary to serve the community, with the caveat that they will also have a sustainability plan in place so that when grant funding or those types of opportunities are no longer available, they have a sustainability plan so that we don't lose those programs within our community. And then the last group we have is with technology, and this is really an internal facing group, but their goals are about having platform readiness to ensure that the systems that they have in place are ready for the services we need to provide to the community. Providing training. Training is about the enterprise internal training, making sure people are using the systems that are in place to its fullest extent, identifying what resources are needed so that we can provide better services to the community. They also talk about funding and thinking about that from a dedicated funding solution to ensure that we can maintain those solutions that we put into place. Looking at enterprise technology, data sharing opportunities that are available to them, and then their main priorities ensuring that they have a safe system, and cybersecurity is right in the top of those goals as well, to ensure that the data and information that they're receiving from clients through the community is protected and is available when it is necessary for them to make data-driven decisions. And so we have been working to bring more of a high-level approach to thinking about how do we develop goals for Sedgwick County that would lead them to being transformative leaders in the community over the next 3 years, looking at opportunities to reshape perception, looking at opportunities to ensure that everyone is on one accord in how the organization is moving forward, and that we are in line with the policymakers in relationship to how they see their role in making Sedgwick County a better place to live, work, and play. And so with that, I know that's a lot of information in a short period of time, but the idea tonight was really to get this before each of the county commissioner districts, to provide them with the opportunity to share any input or thoughts that they may have on the strategic direction of Sedgwick County as a whole.
Wow, that was a mouthful. You've done that before.
I have not. You guys are my first.
Okay, that was great.
it's important for the leadership to be thinking about as they are working through finalizing this document, as they prepare to really make change and collective impact in Sedgwick County as a whole.
Comments from the board? Public?
I did my
Yeah.
job.
Awesome.
Run away as soon as you
Right.
can.
You know everything.
No, it's-
Tell the commissioners you need to leave.
Yeah, drop the mic.
I know, please, they didn't say anything, no.
Thank you guys so much.
Have a great night, thank you.
Say that one didn't come out of our budget.
Thanks, John.
Okay, let's see, now we will hear from Evan Rosell or Roselle?
Roselle.
Evan Roselle with Greater Wichita Partnership, presenting us updates, procedures that are currently being used for planning the area between Douglas and Kellogg along the east side of the Arkansas River.
Kansas, and thank you to whoever put me behind LaShonda. Follow that. Thank you very much, Councilmember Blubaugh and District Advisory Board, for giving us a chance to come and update you a little bit as to what is happening with the Riverfront Legacy Master Plan, to answer any questions you might have and to seek your input, should you have it. And so I've got a PowerPoint here, but I'll blow through it real quick. Just because so many of the things that we're talking about are visual in nature, but if you don't hesitate to stop me if there are any particular questions or anything you want to discuss. So this area in blue comprises the Riverfront Legacy Master Plan area. So essentially, you see it's the Arkansas River on the west side, Main Street on the east side, Douglas on the north, and Kellogg on the south. And you know, this project has come about through a number of different studies, a number of different activities. Project Downtown, which was formed about 10 years ago, contemplated this. It's kind of a date in the future when circumstances are right. Think about this area and how we could leverage it in the best ways possible. We also saw Project Wichita come out over the last year and a half. A lot of conversations through that report about talent and opportunities for folks to gather together, and certainly being able to break down some of that demographic data, saying that there's a strong desire amongst our community in all areas of the community to have this gathering place where everybody could come together. Together with the Citizens Century 2 Advisory Committee that the mayor formed last year, and they were looking at the particular performing arts element of Century 2, and together with all of the studies that have been done in the past relative to this area, different elements of it. So, you know, one study would talk about conventions specifically, and one study would talk about performing arts specifically, and different pieces. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is zoom out and to think about that area comprehensively, think about it all together, particularly in light of all the exciting development on the West Bank with baseball and the other development there. You can see some of the like the new advanced learning library and other developments there too, and continued development downtown. How do we make sure that we can look at this area, which I believe could be the most vibrant area in the state of Kansas, in relation to everything else that's happening too? So a couple of similar type cities with rivers, maybe less than industrial rivers, similar to ours, just to kind of give you some viewpoints as to how folks harness this type of open space and performing arts and conventions and all the opportunities that exist here in the site. Nashville's a great example as well. Just to kind of get juices flowing in terms of what could be possible. This coalition was formed a number of months ago from a number of different organizations, nonprofit community development organizations coming together. Obviously the city of Wichita, and so Councilmember Blubaugh, thank you for agreeing to support financially this project. Sedgwick County and Commissioner O'Donnell, who has escaped, serves as the representative for Sedgwick County on this process. Councilmember Johnson serves as the representative of this process on the city's end, and we're in frequent communication with both city and county managers, Scott Knable, master planners, those groups as well. See, Downtown Wichita, Greater Wichita Partnership, Visit Wichita, Community Foundation, Chamber, and then W, which is the Young Professionals Organization. So it's really been fun to have their involvement, and all of these organizations have a quality of place, a talent, and an economic
factor to get involved in this type of work. We mentioned all the prior studies in this area. This is just kind of a timeline of some of the things that have happened over the last several years. Our desire in this process is not to recreate the wheel. Obviously, much has been invested financially into these studies from the city's end and others, and so we want to use these as building blocks to develop a more comprehensive idea for a unique, distinctive, authentic riverfront for the community. We, continuing on the city's work, having worked with Populous in 2014 and a little bit after that, we reached out to them again. Todd Hope is the global leader for their conventions process, and fun, actually he's from Hutch. First concert he ever saw was Todd Rundgren at Century 2. He's got all of his family here, so it's been really fun to see that type of engagement and investment. You see some, Olin is a landscape architecture and open spaces firm out of Philadelphia. In fact, Larry Hootenmer, you guys are familiar with Larry, his son, Derek, is a member of that firm and is working on this project. He was clawing to be involved. So a number of local connections there. RC Elko, Aaron Talkington on the bottom right, that's a market analysis and real estate firm, and they're working on things now. We want this to really be a data-driven process, have economic realities stitched throughout the process, and so they're really helping us take the lead on that. A couple of weeks ago, and we'll go into this a little bit, but we had these urban exploration tours, and thank you, Councilmember Bluboff, for coming and bringing your kids to that. One of the things we wanted to do was look at the history of this site and look at the history of some of these things. So this is a map from 1882. This is our area comprises the Griffenstein estate here. You can see kind of a north and south orientation. And then as we move toward, I believe this is 1938. You guys might have a better view of that than me, but 20s, 30s. This is not the boathouse on the site, but it's emblematic of the type of activity that was happening in this area. You see a lot of folks around. It was really activated, and when landscape architects and those folks say activated, what they mean is people have a reason to go there, and so you see a lot of activity there. This is an interesting report from 1922, the Bartholomew Report. If I can find it. There we go. So this would be the old Carnegie Library here. This is the Forum. This is the river. Century 2 would sit about right here. And so this was an urban plan that was designed in the 20s, and it contemplated this open space area, a grid, the street grid being preserved so that there's access to the area. And so it was interesting to look back at some of the history of these areas and see what the community desired and perhaps still does. We also looked at the grid here in terms of the streets, kind of creating a porous opportunity to engage the river. And then also looked throughout time to see, 1882 to 1938, 1974, 2019, if I can, my eyes are getting older, if that's right, seeing the type of development that was happening there. And open space and different opportunities. Obviously, Water Walk was a big area. That's part of this process as well. And so how can we maximize opportunities for folks to come to this area? I think one of the things we've heard from feedback from folks thus far is to say, the reason that Riverfest brings me to this area, or performing arts, in which case you got to buy a ticket to come to this area. We really thought in the context of what would families do? How could you, families from the south side, give them a reason to come and enjoy open spaces and enjoy the opportunity to be together, right? We've got one of my kiddos here, but we've got 4. A lot of times after dinner, we'll go to the Keeper because it's free and it's something to do, and you can run off a little bit of the energy. But that type of idea that we could bring folks from all over the region to come and see what's going on here. This is some of the research that the Populous has done in terms of the situational amenities and how this is kind of ground zero, this area, for many of the great things we have in our community. Same with the events, particularly so. When we think about, Chili Fest or Riverfest or Wagon Masters activities, those types of things, all happening within this area. And as we think about this area, it'd be wise for us to be maximizing those types of things, particularly Riverfest. Recreation, so these are a lot of the parks here. within our community. So how do we think about open spaces in relation to those facts as well? And this is interesting. This is heat mapping of different digital sources like Fitbits or Apple Watches or Map My Run. And what it tells us is where people are running or exercising or being active. So it's really interesting data. It's also a little creepy to know that we have this type of stuff available to us, but we see the river corridor as being a really dense area. And we see a little bit here that at least where Century 2 is or Waterwalk, there's not a lot of movement in between there. How can we think about those things? We also see Douglas as a main artery too, certainly as the residential population of downtown grows. And then opportunity framework. We really see this area here with our museum districts and parks. How do we think about this all together and activate it in a way that everybody can be a part of it? Community engagement, not just expert engagement, but community engagement is driving this as well. So on July 31st, we had our first open context at the Boathouse. And the goal there was just to introduce the process and introduce the people and sort of the reasoning as to why this is coming about. You can see right here, there are design team folks around. These are to scale models of the current buildings, but then also you can see this area too, like green space, the current acreage of green space. And so really giving folks an idea of, what all could you pack onto this type of site? How can we start to think through things in ways where we truly understand both the opportunities and also the limitations as well. We had sticky notes and people were saying, what does sticky notes matter? Well, we collected every single one of them, and there's a really complex matrix where we're collecting all this input. In fact, 150 subcategories of input from throughout the community. Things like we want access to the river. We want things to do with family. We want restaurants or accessibility for handicapped or for the disabled. Those types of things. And so able to gather feedback through that as well. You can see there's a packed house there that evening. Thank you, Councilman Blue, for being there as well. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago had urban exploration. So this was kind of an experimental idea that we had, talking with so many of the different urban planners, and just the questions that they were asking and the thoughts that they were having were so interesting to us. We thought, it'd be great to take the community on a bit of a walking tour, so that they would have a better understanding of the types of things that urban planners think about. And so we started kind of in Century 2. We went down to the riverfront. We went down to the southern area of the site and asked things about like Riverfest, or urban planners would point out and say, our region is really lucky. We don't have a large highway going parallel to our river, or a large rail spur tied into our river, like most cities do. How do we take advantage of that? And you could hear folks noticing different things, like the buildings on the East Bank at least are backing up to the river rather than facing the river. Little things like that once you get on the ground and walk the area, you have a better idea of how you experience it. We had about 450 folks, Spanish translators. We had golf carts for those who needed mobility assistance. And again, the purpose was just imagine what can be and understand the realities of the space. We realized that although we had 4 different opportunities for folks to come, not everybody can make it. So we loaded the similar type of guided tour online. So if anybody with a smartphone or plug in their earphones, head down to the site, we'll give you real guided directions and some of the questions that they were asking and talking about, so that folks can come down to that area and experience it as well, both in English and in Spanish. And all of these public engagement contexts going forward, we have open-ended question, input, comment at the end as well. We'll stay as long as folks have questions or have concerns or have input. And so we did that for each of these tours and heard some great input. Obviously, these are some hard conversations as a community. So it's really an opportunity for us to come together and say, what's a big vision that we could all step toward, and how do we do that in ways that respect the past, respect the traditions and history, and also look toward the future as well. And how do we step toward some of these complicated issues together? can see some of the community engagement timeline here. We talked about the Boathouse event. We talked about the urban explorations. On October 17th at Exhibition Hall, RCOCO and the design team will come, and they'll present some of the data that they're seeing, the economic and market analysis of the area. So looking at our general economic conditions, and then how that translates to things like the residential growth in the area, the commercial growth in the area, the hotel growth in the area. What are the opportunities that exist there? And how can that data then form the backdrop of different designs? So like we said, we want this to be a really data-driven, fact-driven process. And so thinking about these types of things at the front end rather than the back end, everybody's been a part of processes where, you know, you can sky's the limit, and then somebody says, well, great, well, how do we bring that about? Or how much would that cost? And those are hard conversations to be asking at the very end of a process. So we want to be talking about some of those things ahead of time. November 14th is another date. We'll be at the Hyatt Regency there, so we're hoping to give people opportunities at the Boathouse, at Century 2, at the Hyatt, all these areas along that East Bank, where we'll roll out different scenarios. So based on input, based on the economic data, based on the experts, what would a couple of different scenarios look like? And those would have kind of budget projections, cost projections. We'd have scenarios with Century 2 there, scenarios perhaps without Century 2 there. Greater open space, smaller open space, different types of mixed use development, and just so that the community can sort of get a better idea of what all goes into these things, and then take those again back out to the community to get more feedback, all toward the January time frame where a final concept would be rolled out and then presented to the city and the county. I should mention also online, riverfrontlegacywichita.org, folks are submitting input and comments 24/7, and so we are always forwarding those on to the design team, and certainly if folks have any questions about things, they can reach out directly to us. We're happy to answer them. Again, just another kind of rollout of the different types of connecting opportunities. And then mostly, though, I think the most fruitful conversations are in contexts like these, where we get to talk to folks person to person, not so much in a larger environment, and hear thoughts, perspectives, input, those types of things as well. So I wanted to just give you an overview of the process, and certainly if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to take any of those now. And an open invitation from our part to continue the dialogue with this district advisory board, particularly South Wichita. We've heard really through different input moments that we need this to be this is the front porch of our region, and it needs to be something where everybody in the community can take advantage of. Not just young folks that live downtown, not just folks from the east side or the west side or the north, but everybody. This is the place where everybody can go. So thanks for letting us come and talk about it.
Thanks, Evan. Any questions from the board? Comments? Questions from the board?
I understand and respect that it's very early on in the process, and that means that there's not a lot of this isn't been put together yet in a reporting form. I really engaged this process at the beginning, trying to be completely neutral and objective, but the facts are revealing uncomfortable truths. The Riverfront Legacy Master Project has accountability and transparency issues. They received $200,000 of our tax money, 100 from city, 100 from county, yet they won't play by the Kansas Open Meetings rules or the Open Records rules. The coalition meets in secret with no published list of attending members, so they want us to contact them, yet we don't even know who are attending the meeting, so we just submit it to some anonymous web form and hope that somebody reads it. Maybe they read it, maybe they throw it in the trash like they do with the sticky notes. Do any members of that coalition even live within that footprint? How do we know? We don't know who they are. It makes it tough. Populace spent the majority of the first Boathouse meeting event patting their own team on the back and asking how Wichita should engage the as they said, the Arkansas River. That seems to be the tip of the iceberg, or at least as the report online says, the tip of the Ackerberg Island. sticky note report remains hidden. How do we know that any of those have been read? The report, the urban exploration walk started with presentations, PowerPoint presentations that were given on the challenges that are posed by the performing arts facilities. Nice presentation. We've never seen that again. We're told it would be put online. It's not been put online. Susie had a great presentation on the needs at the convention space. Again, we're told that would be put online the Monday following. It was never put online. They were shared with the crowds, but they weren't shared with us. And there was also a presentation that was done at the boathouse that said they were shared online. So if they want this to be open and transparent, they've got opportunities to make some changes before the meetings start in November to make us believe that. The one that probably disappointed me the most was when you can have biases in surveys that show up. This is the quiz that was passed out at Century 2. And I quote, "A new performing arts center is needed. According to previous studies, where should it go?" So we're keeping our minds open, or have we already made up our minds? The writing's already been done.
Yeah, that's okay. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts, and perhaps after this we could talk more specifically about some of those concerns. So the coalition meets once a month, the final Monday of the month at 4 p.m. Those are open to the public. So we've got those posted on our website, and so you can see everybody who's involved and how we're talking about this. So you can certainly come to those meetings. They're all on our website there. In terms of who's represented, the leadership of each organization and the board chairman from those organizations are involved, as well as city and county and a number of other folks in attendance, similar to a meeting like this. Sticky notes certainly weren't simply thrown away. It's going into all the community input, all the report toward the end of this that could put all these things together. I mean, thousands and thousands of input pieces there, and so those certainly aren't being disregarded. Every input piece of input is important to us, and we want to hear about that. We did think it was important with the urban explorations. When we started the process, we talked a little bit about some of the context analysis there, with some of the history, and that report is absolutely online on the website, riverfrontlegacywichita.org. Leaders from the music theater Wichita. We wanted to share some perspectives of folks who are using the building every day, and so they talked about some of the things that they love about the building and their use of it, and some of the things that they found challenging about their use of it. And I'm sure if I could connect you with Angela Cassette, who shared that. I'm sure she would share it with you. That was from music theater independently, so we wanted to make sure that we weren't sharing things that they didn't want to be shared, but I'm sure she would have no problem if you reached out directly to her to get that information. And in terms of, you mentioned a new performing arts center needed, I think we mentioned all the previous studies that have been done, and we mentioned certainly starting not from ground zero, but standing on the foundation of those processes as well. And so, we heard Manager Layton talk about some of those needs a couple of weeks ago, talked about how those reports have come out. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We want to steward the money that the public sector has invested in this process. We want to steward it well and not dig up the seed very much. So our desire is to be open throughout this process. And so if there are ways we can grow in that, we can certainly point them out to us. But this is not a preconceived or predetermined outcome. It's a hard conversation for our community, and we want to be able to have it in ways, private sector, public sector, general public, where we can all talk about this well. So if anybody has more questions, I encourage you to come to one of the coalition meetings where we'll be talking about these things in depth, and hopefully that would assuage some of the concerns that might exist among a couple of folks in the community. Thank you. I'll leave some more cards here for folks if they'd like them.
Okay, moving on.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
just so you're not blindsided, I did an interview with KMUW last week. I know this is a hot topic for them, and I did share similar concerns of what Vincent said. A lot of folks that went through the process told me that they felt like they were being told this is what we're going to do. It didn't feel like, they were really soliciting their advice. So I don't know how that'll come out, but it is something that some people are, other people than Vincent are having that feeling.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
I know there's always continuous improvement, things for
Yeah,
use.
yeah. Well, and we want to hear those things.
Yeah.
And it certainly there's a lot of emotion tied to it, a lot of passion tied to it, which is great. I mean, we're not afraid of disagreement in this process. We're trying to balance some of the realities that exist with this area and some of the opportunities or concerns that different folks have. How do those things mesh together well? So, if there are more particular ways we can grow in that, then absolutely we'd be welcome to hearing this.
We all want the best thing we can have for us.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that was the starting spot for the coalition. Everybody's taking off their individual hats here and saying, how do you devise a process where the best vision for the community can be realized? And how do we, almost like a family, how do we have our conversations? How do we do it well? So, appreciate the chance to speak.
Thank you for coming out.
Okay, so we have a zoning case of some sort.
Scott Knable with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. I'm here to present zoning items for a property at 2799 South Meridian. Property is currently zoned limited commercial, and as the staff report indicates, it's a vacant building. It's actually occupied by a church type. The request is to change the zoning to office warehouse so that a construction, sales, and service business, like plumbing, electrical, and HVAC service business can occupy the building. That construction, sales, and service use is permitted in limited commercial. However, in the limited commercial district, it is required to be a predominantly retail business. This is not a retail business, but a service business, a business that has the service operators housed there, go and provide the services at your home business. The comprehensive plan identifies this area as appropriate for residential and employment mix. I went to find the site on my way here this evening, and it is an interesting mix in the area. You have not very far away a very large industrial area. Just immediately behind the site, you have agricultural use, people raising horses. You have multifamily, single family, all in a very small location. The recommendation from staff is the request be approved. We've identified the findings that support that on pages 2 and 3 of our staff report. The agent for the applicant is here to answer questions if I'm unable to do so.